Okay. Let me just see if that is working well. Yeah, it is. Munir, would you kindly do our initial prayer today?
Yeah, sure. Pleasure. So let's now once again join our thoughts, our hearts, raising them up to our Almighty Father, our beloved Master Jesus, and the benefactors in charge of gathering this large group of incarnated and discarnate spirits all together to learn, to understand about ourselves and the divine laws. We thank the benefactors, and particularly our guardian angel, for guiding us to this meeting, for allowing us to be present here, and for receiving these teachings, so that we can be helped and help, dedicating ourselves to the practice of the teachings, not just in mediumship, but in love. So with that permission, we'd like to start our meeting today. So be it.
So be it.
So be it. So good morning, everyone. Let's have another wonderful Saturday. Today, 3rd of February, 2024. So let me share with you all my book. So we can all have a picture as well. So we have stopped last week and the very same item called evocation, right? To many, evocation is like a complicated subject. It can be, but it can also be very simple. And when I was in Brazil, I bought this book called Evocation, and the author is André Ariovaldo. I was having a quick reading through this morning. Interesting. Everything based on Kardec. So it's a very good point for a book. And he brought some subjects that, to be honest, I did not remember that for many, many years. I did that because I wanted to speak a bit about evocation. In Portuguese, the dictionary describes as an evocation and evocation. I don't even know if in English we do have those two options. I didn't check. I didn't have a time today. But this is basically to define how we can do it. One is when we clearly call for a spirit. And the other one is when we address the spirit by our thoughts, by our prayer. But the ending of both is exactly the same. We are inviting, kind of inviting, one spirit to come to our meeting, to our exercise, expecting that this very same spirit will be there to answer whatever question we may have. When we talk about evocation, what I would like to say to you all is that a thought is enough to evocate one spirit, as we have here in the book, thoughts of evocation. That means if I am thinking about someone, a loved one that has left, that move on, that's gone, yes, he will receive that invitation to come. I don't want to go through the exercise of evocation just now, just to focus on this evocation by thought. It is important to realize how strong or how powerful our thoughts are. If just thinking about someone, that is enough to connect to this person, incarnated or discarnated, they increase our responsibility. Because if we are connecting to this person, incarnated or discarnated spirit, we can be sending good things or bad things. The mechanism is exactly the same. The mechanism that connects us to a being to send good thoughts, good vibrations, is exactly the same mechanism to send bad thoughts, bad vibrations. And we need to be concerned about this power we have. Because it's very good to send good things, but it's not all that we send. We also send bad thoughts more often than we should, and we all do. Ah, that person is not good. That's enough. Ooh, I really would like to be in that position in the company, you know. John is very good, but I'm better. What am I doing? Right? So things like that we all do from time to time, hopefully, we are sending through our thoughts something that's not very positive. Another thing through our thoughts is connect to people that we don't even know how well they are right now. I had a recent conversation with someone that was very nostalgic about his youth. Oh, this friend, the AB, he had like a catalog of friends that had passed away already. He did not see for decades. How is he doing right now? When we were kids, that was very good. What about him today? How would we know where he is? We don't. We don't know. Because even sometimes when we think that someone is a positive person, is doing everything right, sometimes just a makeup. And right behind that makeup, there are lots of trouble. When the person discarnated, I don't know where he or she will be. I don't know which companies he or she will have. And let's assume a hypothetical scenario where someone I loved very much, discarnated 30 years ago, suddenly I was looking my school book. Oh, dear Lord, this guy here, I love him very much. He was very, very good. I miss him so much. Well, I'm connecting to him already, right? If he's on an up level, surrounded by good spirits, brilliant. Brilliant. But if the opposite is true, I'm not only connecting to him, but also connected to whom is in his surroundings. That is the subject of this chapter, right? So I don't want to scare anyone. I just want to make people aware of the tools we have and how we should be conscious about use them. Our thoughts is a powerful one. So when we connect with a type of spirits, with a type of place, surroundings, we need to be conscious about our choice to be connected to those people, to those places. Hi, Denise.
It does sound quite scary, but come here. Let's say like because I mean, we all have like sometimes members of family that died and sometimes anniversary of the death, things like that, we always connect, but how would it be if you just try to, if you remember the past, to send flowers and love, even if they're in the bad location, would that, it doesn't send, as you said, we don't know where they are, but if you connect just to send love and like good vibrations. How does it, what's the downside on that one? Could you still connect with whom are around them? Or is there some kind of protection if your thoughts are good?
My OC things, it's more on the scientific aspect. The connection is the connection. If you get your cell phone and call a good person, it's fine. If you call through your cell phone a bad person, it's fine. The cell phone will do exactly the same. The means, the length wave that will be sent to person A or B is exactly the same. The mechanism behind is exactly the same, right? What I would do to start with, well, I don't try to connect many often with people that is gone to start with. But when I do through a prayer. A prayer will bring me some protection, and I also will be sending good thoughts to that person. But of course, sometimes you think about someone that's gone. Well, remember when he did that? It's not a prayer, right? That's inevitable. We cannot avoid that. Or I can't. But we need to minimize that kind of thing, right? For example, the example I gave here, the person, because it was very nostalgic, he started to find people for 50 years ago that he does not even know that person really. You know, what he is gaining with that. You see, that's the kind of thing we need to be careful of. It's impossible not to think about our parents that are no longer here, our grandparents, our friends from time to time. But we need to be aware of those possibilities, right? And the only mechanism that I see that will bring you some protection, if that person is not very well, is through a prayer. I don't know any other mechanism that would protect you. So if I'm thinking about someone that I love, for example, let's say my grandfather, I'll think about him, and then maybe not in the same moment, but maybe through the day I'll make a prayer for him, hoping that he'll be okay, hoping everything's all right. Because not many people will know if they are okay, right? Eventually, one person or another may have access to that level of information, but the great majority of people does not. And then, again, the only mechanism I know is a prayer. All right?
Thank you.
So now let's talk about evocation in the mediumship meeting. What is that? Is when the indoctrinator, the evocator, or whatever you want to call, want to have a spirit answering that question. Is that a possibility? Yes. What do you mean is a possibility? Well, Kardec showed us very clearly that is a possibility. He did many times. He even told us how to do, right? So it is a possibility, period. Do we do nowadays? Next to nothing. Because somewhere along the line, God bless you. Somewhere along the line, people create so many boundaries on the spiritism, and through fear, they stop doing some practices or trying new practices. Fear on the spiritism environment is something that's very present sometimes. So as we do not know which spirit will answer using that name we want, people simply stop doing it. But Kardec showed us how to do it safely. Is 100% safe? Nothing is 100% safe on this world. But when you establish a good connection with your benefactors, with the benefactors of your spiritist center, when you recognize those benefactors, oh, how can we recognize the benefactor? Well, through the vibration, through what is written, through how it's written, through many years working together and evaluating the results of this companionship, this partnership. So there are means to identify your benefactors. So Kardec let us know that when he wanted to ask question to Spirit A, he asked first his benefactor. Is that okay to invite him here to answer my question? And when he had the validation, the approval of his benefactor to do so, then he did. So that bring him into a more comfortable area, in a comfort zone, to use this tool to perform what he wanted. Is there 100% bulletproof? As I said, no, nothing is 100% bulletproof. And it's not because it's not bulletproof that we should not do. Because a lot of people decide not to do anything because it's not bulletproof. I cannot do this because I prefer to waste 99% of good answers than to have a risk to have a bad one. Well, thankfully, someone in the past was not like that. Someone in the past did try many things. And that's thankful to him too, that we are not using turning tables anymore. Otherwise, we should not try to use anything else other than turning tables, because turning tables was the first way we saw that mechanism. I bet how hard it was at the time to the mediums that start to give verbal or written communication. Let's think about 1800s, where communications were basically through turning tables, through taps, through Ouija. And then I have a couple of mediums next door, they start to write directly in the paper. And we know how charitable we are in our spiritism. So I bet everyone was giving the right support to those mediums at the beginning. Do you think that was right, what I'm saying, or was maybe the opposite? I don't know. I wasn't there. But knowing the human nature, I would say 50-50 at least. But as we had Kardec, that was really willing, and he had to put all of this together for us, things have evolved. And that was very nice. Thanks to him, we are where we are today. Not only him, we had others, but he was the one who started everything for us on the spiritism. Right? So can we do evocations in our meetings? Yes, we can. Are we confident to do? I don't see why not. Should we do? And then I have a question. What is your objective doing so? Because it depends on your objective. As ever, everything we do in a mediumship meeting or using our mediumship characteristics needs to have a positive objective to make it work correctly, to make it work right. Otherwise, we may be surrounded by those that we don't really want, right? Hi, Liz. Liz, you're mute.
Can you hear me now?
Oh. Yes.
I just wanted to say something that came to my head when you said, shall we do it? Of course, we could do an evocation. But I think following some logics that we have been, laying down here in our studies, whether it is an evocation or not, any communication have to be evaluated. Mm-hmm. Isn't it? Just kind of.
That's a rule of thumb. Mm. That's no communication, or even from my benefactors, your benefactors, our center benefactors, that should not be evaluated. Everything needs to be thoroughly evaluated. Mm. Right? But how to evaluate? Because if I'm a very fearful person, anything that I will see, oh dear, no, this one may have 0.00001% of chance of, I will throw that on the bin. Well, we need to be reasonable, right? We need to evaluate the outcome of whatever is written from whoever signed that information. if I have a message telling us to study more, to do more charity, to open up another activity to help other people, great. May not be the person that I signed, may not be a good spirit who's writing, but the outcome of what he or she is telling us will be positive. We'll be helping more people. We'll be teaching the doctrine to more people. We'll be alleviating more pain and sorrows. And that is what Spiritism is about. So I don't care who wrote that. The message was positive. The message is giving us the incentive to do something very good. On the other hand, I saw already messages with a nice signature on the bottom telling us to stop our work we were doing already. And I'm 53 years old. I was born in a Spiritism family, and I'm very young, participate in the mediumship meetings, and doesn't work like that. I never saw one spirit saying, stop this work. I never saw. I saw spirits, benefactors, telling us, you need to be more attentive in the way you are doing this. You may need to consider the outcome showing A, B, C, D options or whatever. That is something else. And they always came making suggestions. I never saw our benefactors until today telling us, stop. Stop doing charity. Stop doing work. Stop going to alleviate pain of someone. Never. Maybe someone here in the room had a different experience, but my practice, and I always relate or correlate everything I say in the practice, never said that to me. Hi, Munir.
Hi, Guilherme. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Guilherme, I have as a golden rule that good spirits never tell us what to do. They never interfere directly in what we do. They'll never say, stop doing that or go and do that. No, they'll only come, counseling us, giving us hints, ideas, and showing, the way to go, but never saying, imposing on us. I've seen, throughout the Spiritist literature I came across, always good spirits, they approach with a different intention. They'll never tell us, you have to do that. Now it's time for you to stop this work and do that or do this. No, they'll never do. Even when they realize we are doing something that we shouldn't, they will come and help us see that what we are doing is not good, but never come and tell us in this way. And I also want to, what came into my mind while you were talking about, the message from spirits, even from those supposed to be benefactors and so on, is that we should imagine ourselves in a room without windows, with just one door that is locked. And if we go through that door, there's no way back. We can go to another room, and we start to talk to people on the other side, on the outside, How are you going to know that those people are telling you, something good or not? So we have to develop this ability of checking. How many people told you that? Does it make sense? Is it helpful? Does it really matter who is saying that? Because that can help, so many people. I think we should have that kind of attitude. Can you imagine us shouting from inside the room, expecting a passerby just to stop and tell us things? How are you going to trust that person? You don't know who that person is, So I think we should have a similar approach when it comes to messages. Always put it at the line of, if it is reasonable, if it's not reasonable, if it will help or not help, if it is an imposition or, just some pieces of advice or whatever.
Munir, something that's very important to know as well. From time to time, our benefactors allow informations that are not trustworthy to going through, also to check us, also to prepare us for such scenarios. So none of us are blinded, folded against that possibility. We have the possibility to, even someone that's like 20 years, 30 years down the road, experience and
yeah.
he may, he needs to start to study again the subject. He needs to start again to be revisiting his thoughts to allow him to be more careful, And this is something that happens from time to time. And another thing as well, Munir, is that the understanding of what a mediumship meeting is for help us a lot in regards to this topic, evocation. Why do I want to evocate a spirit? The mediumship meeting is basically a tool that we have in the Spiritism to help spirits that are suffering. Spirits incarnated and discarnated. This must be the golden rule for a mediumship meeting to be successful, right? Are you telling me that no good spirit can? No, I'm not saying that. And in those serious meetings to alleviate pain and sorrows, from time to time, we have good message too. But it's not the tone of the whole meeting. It's not every meeting. Because we understand what we are there for. We are there to alleviate pain and sorrows. And that is what we need to keep in our brain, in our mind. That's why we have mediumship. And I used to have a kind of joke with people. Oh, do you want to have good messages from the spirits? I would tell you 422 books that you can buy, at least, where you'll be having all sort of messages, and they are almost all positive. So you see, why we want to evocate. Can we do it? Yes. But why? And I think why is one of the things that needs to follow the medium all the way through. Why I want to be a medium, why I want to be in this meeting, why I want to do this or that. And if the answer is always the same, inclined to charity, is a good start. Because sometimes, even if the answer is the right one, sometimes my intentions are not that clear. I want to do something to be on the spotlight. I want to be something. Yes, I'm doing charity on the way, but because I want to be on spotlight is also very important to me. Hi, Cleo.
Hi. I'm sorry. I was trying to put my hand up earlier, and I couldn't. I'm a bit late on the point that you are mentioning now. I just want to ask, when you talk about the invocation, when we think about someone else, I'm gonna give myself an example. I have my children, and when they were born, two of the grandparents weren't between us anymore. So they do ask questions, how they were, and to see pictures, and for me to tell them about their grandparents. And as I understood, this is an invocation. But at the same time, I feel like I need to tell them how they were, and things about their grandparents.
And that's beautiful. It happens to all of us, right? The thing is, not all of us, we have the possibility to see them, to sense them, right? I gave the example of my grandfather when we were talking here. I don't doubt that he's around, or at least he realized that, well, he's talking about me, leave me alone, or something like that. If he was grumpy, for example, leave me alone, I don't want to go now. But a connection has been made, and that's clear, you know. And I had few examples where I don't see, I just sense. But I have people around me that can see, and I had a very interesting situation where I was talking about someone, and there was my grandfather at the time. I was giving an example, and someone looked up. Well, there's a person here that has this characteristic, short hair, blah, 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 blah. I started laughing because I knew who was there. It was my grandfather. So you see, I didn't see because I cannot see. I sensed there was someone, but I could not sense that was him. And I had a clairvoyant near me, and then he described my grandpa. You know, so when we think, we connect. But Thankfully, not all of us, we have clairvoyant possibilities, because sometimes we don't see only nice things. Sometimes we see ugly things, right? So, oh dear, I have 2 hands. Cleo, 3 hands? Oh dear. Cleo, do you have anything else to share with us?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay, all right. Hi, Munir.
Hi, Guilherme, it's me again. No, I just want to make sure a point, because when we talk about evocation, it can be used in the sense of calling someone in spirit to work with us in a mediumship group, or evoking memories of someone, which is natural. We are not calling that person to be next to us, because the spirit may be busy. They are not just at our side 24/7, unless they have something to do with us, but that work is regarding us. But I think it's natural. And sometimes it's the presence of the spirit that will evoke memories. It's the other way around. So, every time we pray for someone, or every time I feel ill and I say, oh, Mother Mary, I'm evoking a very high spirit. But it is an evocation, but it doesn't necessarily, or generally, if I'm not calling the person to be present there, in like memory. Like the other day, I saw a perfume that my auntie used to like very much throughout her whole life. She used to buy the same, perfume, and immediately I thought of her and sent her a hug. Oh, wherever you are, receive my hug. That's it, So, but we're not calling the spirit to be at our side because they're busy. They're doing something, or sometimes they perhaps may not even know how to get that close to us and for what purpose. But it's natural. But the case we are treating here is more regarding to work, to talk to that spirit, to get information, to get the spirit to answer questions for us. As we see, for instance, in the book Heaven and Hell, when in the sessions at the Spiritist Society, they started to evoke spirits who were connected to them and had just deceased, returned to spirit, like the case of Mr. Sampson. And they start to ask questions and tell him, how was your passage? How, it's totally different from, having someone, the memory of someone, and telling people about that person.
Munir, I totally agree with you that they are not available to us 24/7. But in my perception, the connection has been made, right?
Absolutely.
They may not come, but the connection has been made.
Absolutely, yes. This is true, wherever they are. As we see, there's a case in André Luiz's books, one of his books, where there was a flash on the TV and an image. Every time someone thought about that spirit, and he could see, he couldn't perhaps understand exactly what was going on. So there was a device, like a TV set. He would see, sort of an image just pop up and, regarding those people. So we know, we connect when we do that. But it doesn't mean that the person has to be there with us and we establish a mediumistic, communication or.
Talking about André Luiz, I'm very jealous because you are in Brazil and you had the opportunity to see the Nosso Lar too already.
Oh, yeah,
and I did.
yeah. Amazing
But anyway,
success here.
We have another hand now. Hi, Osoli.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Guilherme. Good morning, everybody. And the interesting because it has no necessary evocation a question, but in my case, almost the time, not frequently, but almost there is I am like a connection, a piece of connection to give one information to another, so or ask when something for another. The last time it was when I had here one big problem in my kitchen 2 years ago with water, and I remember I was in the near TV. TV was not on. It's not it's not off. But I sat the sofa, and I saw suddenly this spirit there, and he was so. And I said, "Oh, good." Of course, me too, because it was so quick that I'm too. I was astonished too. And some days later, the engineer take care of this our construction again in this my kitchen. People some works here, and they came sometimes to see works also. And he said to me, "Oh, two of my workers died of COVID. The time it was COVID, 2001, 21." And he said, but he had two daughters, and one of them very good worker, and he worked here with her in the kitchen, your kitchen. He was a good worker, and I would take care two daughters because they are alone, and I think I would like to take care of their education and so. Okay, and it was 2 days before I heard anything in my kitchen, in my house, never in my apartment, but two nights I heard many noise here in my kitchen, and I cannot saw anything. So I knew it was a spirit, and I prayed to this spirit, but I did not anything about it. So came in and told this. I connected the same time as it was the same, and I don't need to say to you at no more noise. He would like hear what was said. So, and it was everything was all right. So
Very good.
it's nice. I would like to take, because it's not needed exactly when evocation. So no. It happens. With me, I see spirits when they need something. Though then I see them very. I
Thank
see
you.
them, but
Thank
it's not always.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
not always.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let me continue a little bit the book. Otherwise, we'll not even start, really, isn't it? Now let us suppose that there is a possibility for these persons, to communicate with beings from the invisible world through an interpreter that is a medium. Which spirit will respond to their call? Obviously, the one who are already there, who are looking for nothing more than a favorable opportunity. And this is very important. That's why I do not see a need or give the incentive to people to do evocations in a mediumship meeting. Because, first of all, you need to have a very objective need, a clear need to make an evocation. Otherwise, it makes no sense. And the other thing is, sometimes may not be the spirit who we want the answer that will be giving the answer. And how will we know? So I rather prefer to have a spontaneous answer. For us, I may have a question, but expecting a spontaneous answer for that question, and then make the normal evaluations we normally do. If a high order spirit were evoked during a frivolous meeting, and there's a lot of that, right? Frivolous meeting could be a meeting that has no serious objectives. And I'm not talking about spiritist meeting, I'm talking about general meetings. And We can buy on Amazon today if you want a Ouija. We can buy on the Amazon a game of glass. We can buy things that people used to use to have those frivolous meetings on the internet nowadays. And something that I like to briefly mention is sometimes we buy for our kids. You don't even know the risks and the dangers that are connected to that kind of activity. Just came to my mind, and Charles, if he's there, maybe he'll be able to give you a little bit more details. 6 months ago or so, there was a group of teenagers who were doing that kind of thing, evocations and playing with, I think was with a Ouija, if I remember well, in a place that was not very good. There was an abandoned building, and one of them got very, very hurt, right? So if you don't know what you're doing, it's better not to do. If you don't have the right support, the right assistance, people with experience doing that kind of activity, it's better not to start without having the minimum level of study, the minimum level of certitude that what you're trying to do will work well. However, if it is sees that it is being neither understood nor listened to, it will leave, as you would do in its place. And the other spirits will have the field free from themselves. Well, I want to do a question for Kardec. But the question that I want to do for Kardec is something really that makes no sense at all, or there's no serious objective, or it's something totally out of the blue, you know, and he may be in the meeting and he look at me, I'm not going to answer that. Get a life. Sorry. And he leaves. And perhaps there's another spirit who jump in and will give the answer. And he will even sign Allan Kardec. So how could we know? So I do not give incentive people to do that methodology. I'm not saying we should not, but I will not give incentive. Take into consideration the variety of degree of study, variety of degree of practice experience, and so on. Moving on, what time is it? Moving on, a serious meeting is therefore not always sufficient for receiving elevated communications. I may have a very serious meeting, mediumship meeting. I may have a very serious group, but the group may not be in conditions, let me put this way, the group may not be in conditions to receive high elevated spirits. And we saw that before. We spoke up to length about our choices, about our behavior, so I'm not going to repeat myself here today, okay? So there's a bunch of things that will ensure or not the possibility to receive more elevated communications. There are individuals who never smile, and yet their hearts could not be purer. More than anything else, it is the heart that attracts good spirits. No moral conditions impedes the spirit's communications per se, but if our moral conditions are bad, we will communicate with those who are similar to us. And this is very important. Who will not waste the opportunity to deceive us, and who will almost always stimulate our prejudices. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I think, we spoke to a length about our choices, our behaviors, and if we are inclined to do something that is not recommended by the Spiritism or even by Jesus, like what you expect. Are you expecting to get really evolved spirits if you don't do your part? Does not work like that. We can thus see the enormous influence of the surroundings upon the nature of intelligent manifestations. However, this influence does not exert itself as some persons formerly thought it did when the spirit world was still unknown. Unlike nowadays, and before, the most decisive experiences had cleared up doubts about it. When the communications agree with the way that the participants normally see things, it is not because their opinions have been reflected in the spirit of the medium, like a mirror, but because the spirits are sympathetic with them, whether for good or evil, and share the same opinions. This is proven by the fact that if they could attract other spirits to communicate with them, instead of those who customarily surround them, the same mediums would speak in much different styles and would say things quite removed from their normal opinions and convictions. Sometimes, let's say, we make a question, and through the answer, we are able to identify that is more like what the medium thinks than anything else. And sometimes you also identify that a spirit that is giving the answer is pretty close of what the medium thinks. Should we not do questions? Should we disregard those answers? No. I firmly believe everything we do, we should take that as an opportunity and learn from them. Otherwise, we'll never learn, right? Bear in mind that Kardec says to us that Spiritism is an evolving doctrine. So perhaps things that I believe is right today may not be that right, or is incomplete, or needs a bit more in-depth evaluation, or blah, blah, blah. So do not disregard anything. Take that on board and develop your sense of evaluation. That's what I would recommend. In sum, the conditions of the surroundings will be better as there are greater moral homogeneity for the good, purer and more elevated sentiments, and a more sincere desire to learn without preconceived idea. Interesting that Kardec, he used he used quite often this term, preconceived ideas. Do we have any preconceived ideas about the Spiritism? What is right, what is not right, what we can do, what we cannot do, do we? Have we heard so many or not preconceived ideas when we were young on the doctrine, when we were looking into something on YouTube, or when we went to a spirit center? I think we know the answer for that. Because when I'm speaking about something, I'm putting on my words what I believe. What I believe may be a preconceived idea. Perhaps I believe in this because I never bother to study in depth this subject to change my mind, to change my perception about that subject. So we need to be very careful with that, okay? Because I see too often, no, that's not possible. Kardec said that. Really? Can you remind me where Kardec wrote anything about that? Because I want to have a look by myself. I want to evaluate. Because as ever, we also read and interpret things as we want. And that sometimes does not reflect the truth. So that's why I always give incentive to people to study. Don't believe, I said that here many times, especially in the beginning of our journey. Don't believe in what I'm saying. Go to the source. And sometimes the source is not even in our own language, because sometimes through translation, and as we see that here quite often with the assistance of Charles, sometimes the meaning does not reflect what has been really desired by Kardec sometimes, right? So go to the source, study. Medium, people that are planning to be around the mediumship phenomena, has an obligation to study. If you don't do it, you are taking chances. You are increasing your risks. So, who wants to do an evocation now? What time is it? Well, we have 10 minutes, so I will move into the next chapter. Chapter 22, Mediumship in Animals. Here in UK, I don't know if that is the subject is being developed or not. In France, I don't know. Well, I don't know where you all are from. In Australia, possibly not too. I can see Christine is there, quiet, but is there today. Hi, Christine. And back in Brazil, there are some books from some serious workers developing the subject. Me, and personally, I never went in depth in this subject. But here we go. Can animals be mediums? This question has been frequently proposed, and certain facts appears to indicate an affirmative response. What have especially given a reason for accepting such a possibility are the noteworthy indications of intelligence in certain trained birds, which seems to guess people's thoughts in drawings. From a pack of cards, the one corresponding precisely to the question posed. We have observed such experiments with special care, and what we have admired most is the skills that had to be developed in order to teach the birds in the first place. We cannot deny that they possess a small dose of relative intelligence, and we must agree that in the circumstances alluded to, their perspicacity might surpass that of many humans, because few persons could boast about being able to do what these birds do. It might even be necessary in few cases to imagine that they possess a gift of a second sight superior to that the most lucid somnambulists. We know that lucidity is in fact essentially variable and is subject to frequent intermittences, whereas amongst these birds it appears to be permanent and function with regularity and precision that could never be found in any somnambulist. In other words, they would never lack of it. So let me comment a little bit about what is here. I always had pets at home, always dog. And we know that from time to time they have perceptions of what we cannot see, but they have perceptions. Right. Does this qualify them as a mediums? I personally don't think so. It does qualify them as a beings that are in the route, on the route of development, like we were before and like we are today, and they start to develop some characteristics like ourselves, right? But I would not expect to have a communication through my dog. I do not expect my dog to have another dog communicating through him. I do not. I may be saying something totally wrong, but that is my own perception, okay? Most of the experiments that we have witnessed resemble those practiced by stage magicians, and we cannot help but doubt the means employed, particularly the way the cards are prepared. The art of stage magic consists in disguising the sleight of hand, without which the desired effect would not be achieved. However, even when the phenomenon of the birds is reduced to such a proportion, it is no less interesting, because we would nevertheless have to admire both the talent of the trainer and the intelligence of the students, since the difficulty to overcome are much greater than if the bird could only act by employing its own faculties. Managing to enable the bird to do things that exceed the limits of what is possible for humans' intelligence proves by its very nature the use of some secret process. Moreover, it is indisputable that the birds only acquired such a degree of skills after some time of special and persevering care, which would not be necessary if their natural intelligence had been sufficient to produce the same results. It is more extraordinary to train them, to pull cards from deck them, to accustom them to singing or repeating certain words. The same applies when the stage magician wants to imitate second sight, or she takes the individual who is under his or her influence to the extreme so that the illusion may be more lasting. Ever since the first time we watched a session of that kind, we have seen nothing more than a very imperfect imitation of somnambulism, which revealed an ignorance of the most essential condition of the faculty. I will stop here for next week. And let me be honest with you guys. There are so many things. There are so many aspects of the Spiritism doctrine. I personally never devote myself to go in depth about mediumship in animals. I'm trying to learn mediumship in human beings. It's already a hard task. If I decide to go to check mediumship in animals, it will be very complicated. Hi, Rafaela.
Hi, Guilherme. Changing the subject just a tiny bit. I saw studies based on the effects of horses and dogs and cats and general pets, but more responsive pets, in regards to children with brain damage and autistic and with cognitive functions issues, that once they develop a bond with the creature, that their health can improve drastically, a lot more than with therapy, and they're able to progress towards stages that with therapy it could take years. So I agree with you. I don't think animals could be medium. I think it'd be really strange, a dog channeling a dog. But I honestly think that they can heal. They can heal. They can, I believe, this is not Kardectism, it's just my own belief, but I think they can absorb trauma and disease and imbalance because of their nature of having a lower vibe. And with this, we are able to reestablish ourselves better, maybe reach better balance, because of the exchange of positive energy between human and animal in an elevated way. They could have healing properties, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting what you said. I had the opportunity myself to see those animals in action, and they really help. They really help. But relate that help to mediumship, then is something else. But definitely, they are our brothers and sisters, little brothers and sisters in evolution. They deserve all our respect, our care, and eventually, I'm pretty sure that there is a topic there. I may have a time to look into it, but today I prefer not to. But thank you very much, Rafaela. I like the subject, but it's a matter of choice. Sometimes we cannot give attention to everything we would like to. So 11:30, it is our time. So I would like to thank you very, very much for your participation. And I think Pablo already knows that I'm going to ask him to do a final prayer, isn't it, Pablo?
Master Jesus, just to thank you for allowing us once more to be together, to share knowledge, doubts, and to be able to reflect upon all that has been shared today regarding mediumship. I ask you, Lord, for us to keep in our hearts the curiosity and maybe able to have a restful weekend and a blessed week ahead. Thank you, and so be it.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, everyone. So now I can see everyone on the screen. We have a new guest, Luis. Welcome, Luis Wells.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi.
Hi. I hope you had a good time. So looking forward to see you all, guys, in a week time. I wish you all a blessing weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.